This episode is supported by Creative Mornings Grand Rapids, our local chapter in the world's largest face-to-face creative community. Creative Mornings believes everyone is creative and everyone is welcome. Their monthly lecture series is free and spans over 240 cities across 69 countries. Visit creativemornings.com to see what's going on with your local chapter. And by Merchants and Makers, a collective of local artists, makers, and small businesses. Merchants and Makers puts on markets across West Michigan, connecting people with real artists and makers at events that include food trucks, live music, and local shopping. Visit merchantsandmakers.com for information on upcoming events and how to get involved.
Photography felt a little glamorized for a moment, and then I felt glamorized for a moment, and then I just was like, I just felt, I don't know, too big-headed about it, and that was kind of gross.
Sick and tired of hearing all these noises in my head. I can't seem to make them go away. Sick and tired of hearing you say I'm already here. When you gonna get up and go away?
Are you ready?
My fanny pack is tight.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Bad Idea Social Club. My name is Aaron McCall.
I'm Joe Matteson. I was thinking about it. I'm so stoked for this season. We're upwards of like 70 conversations with like amazing creatives and people that have just chosen to do this thing their own way. This is an exciting place to be.
I think so too, man. And if you've been around for a while, you know what this is. We sit down with creative people and talk about the stuff that makes us who we are as creatives. The good stuff, the messy stuff, the weird stuff, all of it.
Yep.
But also we added cameras. So if you've ever wondered what these conversations look like, or you wanted to see my fucking mug, now you can watch new episodes on YouTube and Spotify.
Jury's out on whether this is a good idea or not, but on this topic, what mug are you using today, Aaron? What you got? What mug are you using?
I'm using my Creatures of the Night.
Oh, dude. Does it glow in the dark or anything?
No. So the original artwork, though, like for the record, like the eyes did glow in the dark.
Dope. Yeah. They need to. Here's mine. I just pour my coffee into this hand and slurp up what I can get.
So nothing?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, you're weird and I don't like it.
Yeah. You should know this by now.
So before we do get into this whole thing, though, I do want to take a moment and acknowledge the loss of our friend, Scott Millington.
Yeah.
Scott was a photographer and a hugely active part of the Michigan creative scene. His Here Is Their Story series was a huge inspiration in making this podcast a reality.
Yeah.
And I will always cherish the conversation we recorded together, and not to mention the countless other conversations that Scott and I have had that were just for us.
Yeah.
It was an honor to be photographed by him, and even more so a privilege just to know the guy.
Yeah, photo is an amazing thing because it creates memories of things that you're capturing, but it's also amazing because it creates a memory of the person that captured it. So he has a legacy of just being devoted to the community around him. And, I only got a couple of events of actually spending time with him, but that alone had an impact on me. Beautiful soul.
We're all going to be better or we all probably are better.
Yeah.
Because we got to spend some time with him.
Yeah. With that being said, who do we got today, Aaron McCall?
Another photographer, Amy Carroll. Like I said, she's a photographer. She's a painter, an artist whose work is uniquely grounded in real life. Amy has spent years creating and capturing images that don't just look beautiful, like they actually feel like something, like they're almost tangible. But she's also someone who keeps evolving, like not just in her work, but in how she sees herself as an artist, as a woman, and as a person getting more comfortable in her own skin every single day.
Yeah.
We got into a lot too. We talked about photography and painting, obviously, but also aging and trusting yourself and what it looks like to gain a clearer image of who you are and who you see in the mirror.
Yeah. In that vein, I was really thinking about the fact that this is something I've never really said out loud before, because I always worry about what it's going to give off or what the assumption will be in relation to this statement. But when it comes to my personal character and things that I've learned that have always been a part of me and I had to live with, and I'm not super stoked that we're always there, people pleasing literally almost killed me. And long story short, because when I went on my senior spring break trip, I got sick just before. Probably many people have heard this story, so I'm not going to go over it too much. But when I got sick before we left for the trip, I was so worried about affecting other people's experience that I pushed through and insisted that it was something that it wasn't. And that led to me being in New Orleans, dying in a hotel. And I waited almost a week to go into the hospital because, again, I did not want to affect anyone's experience on their trip. Okay, so at my healthiest, people pleasing comes into a space where I love service and I love servicing people and I love like
I bet you do.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. I love obsessing about like what is going to make someone's day and then how I can go one step beyond that. And in my field, that makes huge waves because people remember that experience because of that. At my most unhealthy in this regard, I disregard any boundary I have, or I just don't make any boundaries at all.
Today you do?
Hell yeah. I'm working on it. I constantly work on it. But yeah, nowadays, more so than ever, it is important that we stick to what we believe and what we know to be right. And that's who I want to be. I want to be that one where it's like, no, I know that if Joe's confronted in this way, he's going to stand up for me or the people like me.
And I think you're a little bit full of shit.
Okay. You love saying that to me.
Well, get your head out of your ass.
Okay, that's fair. I am happy to hear that because oftentimes too, when you're working on yourself, you're too close to see the progress that you've made. And it's nice to hear that others see progress in that. And you're not even saying progress. You just see that I'm better in that way. But yeah. Okay. Before we dive in, don't forget to follow wherever you're listening. Leave a 5-star review and don't forget to tell your friends.
Also, this thing runs on merch sales and listener support and reviews. So head over to badideasocialclub.com. Maybe buy something. Help us out with this whole thing. Shipping is always free. And I think our shit's pretty cool. So
dope.
Here's my conversation with Amy. As we were just kind of talking about off mic, this is the first chance we've ever had to like sit down and like really mix it up, really fuck shit up a little bit.
I like it.
So first thing I want to know is about your relationship with your camera.
Oh my gosh, I don't think anybody's ever asked me that question before. So it's interesting. I think my relationship with my camera, if I'm thinking about it, it just feels like an extension. I feel like the first time I ever picked up my camera or a camera when I bought it 20 years ago, it was a Nikon. It fit my hand and it just like immediately felt like this extension that I could then do what I wanted to do and create how I wanted to create. And it's always kind of been like that. I'm not a super techie camera girl. I feel like
it's vibes for you.
It's more vibes than it is like all of the minutia of the camera itself. I really just want it to create, and I've really kind of dialed in to do that. I'm a little bit moodier of a photographer, so I kind of dial down my tones a little bit, and that's kind of how I shoot. But my relationship with that camera, I guess it's just really being able to create something beautiful and just having that extension. It feels like the most natural thing to have it in my hand.
So like, where's the line between like an extension of you and a tool?
I never really think of it as a tool.
I love that.
Yeah, I've never even put that into context. No, it just feels
I'm sorry for doing that then.
No, it's a valid question. And it's honestly like, I feel like I'm going to be thinking about this later tonight and like, no, I should have said this. But no, it really just feels like how I can achieve exactly what I want to do with it. When I first started doing photography, I just felt poor and I wanted better cameras. And, so certainly it's, I've been able to upgrade and change to the things that I can really then finesse a little bit more. But really, it's just always been this natural extension so that I can create what I want to create with it. And
well, in your work, it feels very human, right? Like it feels very grounded. And I would imagine just starting out, like you don't start there.
I've always wanted my pictures to be able to be felt, not just a really beautiful image. And I don't know how to like say that better.
You know, I actually have that in my notes that I'm like, I kind of almost feel like I can like talk to these people, right? Almost like I can like pet the animal or what. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, it feels tactile. Like it feels like a real thing and not like a product.
Yeah, good. That's always what I want. With the people I'm working with, I never want them to feel like I'm just, okay, we're going to go over here and pose. I think movement feels really natural. I feel like taking in the natural elements around us is what I'm always trying to like contextually do, but then putting it all together, a beautiful setting and everything going. And so many people are so worried that they're not photo people or they don't feel comfortable in front of a camera that I feel like most people say that. And everybody, when they just move and they're just authentically who they they are together, that's the beauty of it. Like trying to capture that.
I've worked with a lot of photographers, and I think it takes a special photographer to pull out that like genuine sense of self that person probably has. And I kind of think that and maybe I'm putting words in your mouth. Tell me shut the fuck up if I am, but like, for photographers like you, like it feels almost effortless. And
I really think like, as I'm thinking about it more, I think that there's an element of just natural, like human curiosity that I really connect with the people that I'm working with. And I think like as we're walking along and I'm getting to know a couple or seeing them again or whatever that might be, I'm often just asking them questions. I'm naturally curious anyway. Like I ask everybody everything. Where did you grow up? Where did you, all these different things. And I feel like throughout that, I can then kind of find this like common thread and kind of common connection that I have with these people that I can make them feel a little bit more at ease. Like we can find that commonality. And I feel like when those guards go down and those walls go down, and that's not something that's a forced effort on my part. I'm not trying to do that. It just kind of naturally comes out. And then they're feeling a little bit more relaxed. They feel seen. They feel heard. They're like, you know, I hope that they know I'm trying to get to who they are and not just walking into a beautiful place and photographing them. And I feel like all that kind of comes through and hopefully like then kind of intersects into this like really beautiful, like their guards are down and they can relax enough to like really just let themselves be who they are. And that's kind of always what I'm trying to do. And I feel like that human connection is, I think, sometimes missing in a lot of the pictures that I see. You know, I can see a great, beautiful picture of a bride and groom on a mountaintop or in Iceland and they're all gorgeous, but I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything at all. And I feel like when people are truly feeling themselves, that's when you get those great imagery. What about the fine art side of photography? That's a whole different ballgame. Yeah, that's got to be a completely different muscle, right? Yeah. And a lot of that, so the fine art photography, so to go back a little bit, I used to, as just a creative break for myself, I would just get in my car and drive around. And this was back in like maybe 2012. And I remember just driving around and I wanted a piece of art for my own wall. And I wanted it to feel kind of Southwest. I don't know why I'm very driven to the Southwest. I don't live in the Southwest, never really spent a ton of time there, but just like those vibes. And I would photograph animals. Animals are just, I love being around them. I don't have a lot. So a lot of people actually thought I lived in a farm for a long time because I would just constantly be That's awesome. Taking pictures of animals and posting them. And I took this one picture of a longhorn and it kind of like stamped me into the fine art world because of this one image. But I really took it for myself. I wanted a picture of a bull with these really long horns and just kind of looking at me and just like really just like cool vibes. And I remember taking this one picture and I was like, this is it. And I remember getting home and I wanted it in black and white and I really enjoyed playing around with that. And a friend of mine was like, when I think I had shared it with her and she's like, you should send this in. You should, I work with Minted, which is an online, creative community. They do, a lot of people know them for invitations and things, but they also have a really big, like fine art and artist based, part of their business. And she was like, they often run these like contests. So I don't know, maybe not contests, but where you can kind of upload art and it's critiqued and can often, get into their system, and they often partner with bigger brands. So I decided to take her up on it. And this one happened to be in conjunction with West Elm, and I sent it in. And that piece just blew up. It was everywhere. It
amazing.
Went crazy. And it was really cool that they kind of took a chance on this picture, and then it ended up being in a lot of magazines. It was in celebrity homes. I would see it pop up in all these different places. Like, people were begging to get this image. After it went to Minted, I couldn't personally even sell it. I didn't own the copyrights to it anymore. So I'd direct them there. But it was in Target. Like, it really
God,
just
that feeling of seeing it all over the place.
It was everywhere.
That can't get old.
No, I mean, it doesn't. It was just it was really neat. People would be sending it in all the time. They're like, oh, it was in this magazine. And it was just like a really cool, that was just never my intent, right? That was just built out of my own love and wanting things for my own wall. So then it really obviously got those wheels spinning, and I was like, what else can I create? So, the animals, this was kind of before animals as art was kind of everywhere. This was back in 2014 when it really kind of took off. And I was like, great, I can be around animals and take pictures, and this becomes art. And it just felt like a really great moment for me. So I really enjoyed that. I started going to different farms. So I just got to and people would invite me to their farms to photograph their animals. And it was just really incredible. So the fine art side was really fun because it was truly born out of a need for my own walls and wanting that art. And, and so I did that for a number of years. And then it kind of got popular. There was one other artist who kind of released an image similar. It was a different animal, but we were both kind of everywhere for a while. And then, of course, the copycats came along. And then, and I'm not even going to try to pretend that I started that, but it was just, it all came out at the same time. The popularity of those prints started getting everywhere. They're then in Hobby Lobby and Michael's, and, and I just kind of stopped creating that because I was been there, done that. There's all these copycats this, and as an artist, you just kind of are constantly evolving. I have a lot of people oh, when are you going to take more animal pictures? And I'm just I don't want to say it's dead to me. I would do it for myself personally, but just never again as fine art moments.
Yeah.
Then it's always been born out of what do I want to see on my own walls? I'm a little bit quirkier. I started painting. So it's always kind of just born out of what do I want to see?
When did you start painting?
Well, that's a good question. My mom is an artist, and she and I would often just paint together. I always say this, she's an actual artist. She went to school for art, and she's really technically beautiful. And, she does, if you wanted a picture of yourself or of your dog, she would do a really great job of it, where mine is more of an interpretation of that. So I always thought because I couldn't draw accurately, or, I didn't paint like she did, that just immediately withdrew me from the category of being an artist. So we would paint together, and I started to just kind of play around with how I wanted to move paint on the, on the canvas or on whatever substrate I was using. And I just kind of eventually started doing that more and more. I really enjoyed it. It just really felt like it wasn't photography. I love photography, but we all need breaks from the things that we do and churn out sometimes. And in the winters, it's kind of a natural time for me to break. So I would just she and I would get together, we would paint, and then 2020 happened. And weirdly, there weren't a lot of weddings, and I needed a little bit of a stress reliever. And so I started painting more and was in some different creative circles with people to just kind of, we would give each other prompts or things like that, just to kind of focus our minds and be able to do something creatively. And that's kind of when it really started being more than just me playing around with paint. So I've been kind of figuring out who I am as an artist, but have enjoyed some success with the painting aspect. Well,
and it sounds like at some point in there, you kind of had to redefine the term artist for yourself.
Yeah. We talk about imposter syndrome, everybody, right? I still hesitantly call myself more than just a photographic artist. So I enjoy it so much. And I've had people ask me for commissions at this point and different things, but it almost feels like I'm playing as a painterly artist. I'm not really validated in that arena quite yet, but I'm enjoying it.
Well, you just opened up a new shop.
I did.
What's going on there?
Well, I like to monetize my hobbies. So
I love that. I love that A++++.
Yeah. And I feel like oftentimes I will say yes because I love the idea of that, and it kind of forces my hand a little bit. I oftentimes will paint in the winter, and then a little bit in the spring, and then the summertime gets busy, and then I don't do it at all. And I thought I thought if I have a shop, then I have to produce all year. And so it was kind of a way to force myself to be doing something with paint and not just photography. Not to say I don't love photography, but it's really good for me to kind of have these different things. And I thought, then maybe I'll say yes to this.
What does painting give you that maybe photography doesn't? Or what does photography give you that painting can't?
Well, painting is so tactile. You're moving in a way like where photography feels like I'm dancing. I feel like with painting, I'm not great with words, as maybe this podcast will illustrate. And I feel like how I get those things out is with painting. I feel like I can paint the whimsy that I feel, or I can paint, when it's abstract, it's usually when I'm trying to get some sort of emotion out and I just don't know what that is. And sometimes it'll come out through that. So I feel like with painting and now pottery also, I started that last year and of course monetized that. I now have pieces that people have purchased, which is crazy. But yeah, so it's, photography and painting and now pottery. So all these different things. And the same thing with pottery. I actually spent the majority of today at the pottery studio that I work at, and having your hands in clay and being able to mold that is like even more of an expression. And it feels like it's so grounding without that seeming like too cliche. It's so grounding to have your hands in clay and just like smoothing that out and just making this really beautiful shape. And mine tend to be a little bit, I don't throw pottery. I'm not on a wheel. I'm a hand building. So you can really just kind of like bend that and mold that and just kind of shape that however you want. And I really like, I'm often, it's almost always nature. Like I want something to like feel more organic than I want it to feel perfect.
Do you ever do it just for you without being like, I'm going to sell this thing?
Yeah, that's how it started. But then I just had a whole bunch of pieces and I'm like,
no. I mean, right now in 2026, Amy Carroll in 2026.
Yes.
I love that.
Yep. I always feel like, again, the pottery even started out when I'm on vacation. I usually buy pottery or art. And so when I'm now making art and making pottery, what do I want? Like, what am I drawn to? And that's always where I start is what do I want to see? I'm actually making a piece for our living room and I want something just sculptural and organic and just kind of like free form, something that I can like look at and feel, I don't know, just feel like what I felt when I was making it.
God, so that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really fun.
So tell me this, as you are today, who is Amy Carroll?
I feel like that's an ever evolving question. I feel like now I'm in my 40s. I feel much more like okay with boundaries, which has been a big thing for me. So I feel like I'm somebody who like, I know who I am. I'm not afraid to say what I do want and I don't want. And that's actually like, that's been a big work in progress. I'm a people pleaser. So I would often like put my own needs, wants, fill in the blank to the side so that I could let other people have what they wanted. And I think I'm better at like asking and saying what I need. As an artist, I feel like I love what's happening lately. Like I have always really felt like art was not something that you did for a living. It's always, I've known artists, but they always had a job or a 9-to-5 or something like that. Right. And like, I remember growing up and always thinking like, I just think like artists are so cool. And I never thought like that was me. I never looked inward and said that could be me. That is me, nothing. And then to see, I feel like the 12 or 13-year-old me would look at who I am now and where I've been and what I'm doing and what I'm working on is like pretty damn cool.
It is. Well, and it's funny you say that because I've always kind of thought that being a graphic designer, being an artist, for me is the closest thing I could possibly get to being a fucking rock star. That's how cool it is to me.
Yeah. It just was never like when I was like, what do I want to be when I grow up? This wasn't it, even though it really was what it was. I just didn't know how to articulate or what that would look like. So I just did the safe route for a while.
Well, what did you think you would be?
I remember thinking I was just going to be what my parents were. Like, I didn't really want what, like nothing, like no shade for them. Like they have a great life and I respect and love them very much. But I kind of just like didn't think outside of the bounds of like what I grew up as. And I remember even being like in my early 20s and I was like, well, I don't know. I guess I need to find a husband and get married and have some kids. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom for a lot of her life until we went to school. And then she, went back to teaching art, which was really cool. But I just really kind of thought I was just going to live an ordinary life. And I didn't think outside of that for a long time, to be honest. Like, I just was like, well, I don't know, I'll figure it out. I went to school for marketing and graphic design. I thought I'd work in an ad agency. I mean, I really didn't think beyond like I could wear cute outfits to work and work on things. And I did that for many years and I hated it so much. I felt like I was like clawing at the walls, like, get me out of here. Like, I would just like stare out my office, and I had a really beautiful river view. I had a very glossy job, and I would just be like, there's got to be more. I hate this. And I was like, now what? This is what I went to school for. This is what I've put everything into. And I just remember feeling so dissatisfied. And I was like, I have to actually like carve something out for myself. I felt like I was just kind of moving down a river instead of like building the boat and changing the course, like all these different things that like have to happen. And I felt like I was just kind of letting people move me in the directions that I thought they wanted, or just didn't really give as much thought. And then when I started taking pictures out of complete just creative need to get out of this office and like do something, I was like, wait, this is it. This is what it is. And then it's just really been, then I felt like that's when I started being me. That's when I was like, this is who I am. And I felt really great. And that was in my 20s. And then my 30s were pretty great. And then my 40s, I was like, this is fantastic. I felt like I'm like, yeah, I'm who I want to be. And I'm surrounded by, I have a really great group of friends. They're really creatively inspiring. I have lots of different, creative outlets. I have lots of people I can talk really like openly with. And I feel like I'm at this point right now where I'm like, I don't know, Amy Carroll's kind of cool now.
Yeah,
but like,
I kind of like her.
I feel like I never felt like I had permanent, and I don't mean that like, I just mean I'm cool with myself. I don't mean outwardly, like people need to think I'm cool. I'm cool with myself. I feel like I'm happy with where I'm at right now.
I love that. Well, what do you think? What do you think those detours on the way to get here taught you about yourself?
There's so many, because I feel like I'm somebody who's pretty introspective, and I look back at a lot of these different things, and I was kind of a dick in my 20s. I don't really
I was too.
I know. I'm like, and sometimes I look back at some of the things that I did say.
And in my 30s.
Yeah, well, part of that too. I feel like there's a little bridge over for me also. And there's some real cringe moments and some moments I'd really like to take back and not have to experience again. But if I'm being honest, I usually learn from the things that I don't want to go through again. So how do I not repeat that? So I feel like I've done a good job of like looking inward and saying, okay, this didn't work, or this was terrible. What's happening? What's the common denominator? A lot of times it was me. And so I had to do some inner work, and I had to, correct some behaviors. I remember when I started getting kind of like known in the photography world, and I kind of came into it when there weren't that many female photographers yet. We're in a pretty saturated market as far as, photography goes at this point. But 20 years ago, like I was pretty cool. Like I was young, and, I had all these like fun ideas, and my head got really big. Like truly, I was like, people were like, oh my gosh, these are so cool. And you're so cool. And I was like, yeah, I really am. And I mean, I didn't say that, but I really kind of got into this like territory where I felt like I was cool. And this was also like, there was a rock star photographer moment that happened in, I don't know, let's say 2008, 9, 10, somewhere around there. There was a whole bunch of California photographers that were like making photography look really cool. Like they were awesome. A lot of people knew who they were. And then photography felt a little glamorized for a moment. And then I felt glamorized for a moment. And then I just was like, yeah, like I just felt, I don't know, too big-headed about it. And that was kind of gross. And I had a studio mate, and she and I both kind of, I felt like we're in this, and we just kind of like, our ego started even attacking each other, and our friendship blew up. And I just like, and then she moved away. And then I just remember like thinking, I'm like, Amy, what are you doing? Like, well, this is not who you want to be. This is not who you are. Like, why are you acting like this? You take pictures of people. Like, get off your high horse. How
old were you when you found that realization?
Yeah, like late 20s, early 30s. I feel like if you were my friend at that point, you probably know what I'm talking about. And that friend and I that had that blow up, we have now reconciled, and we're very good friends.
Oh, good.
We've been able to like kind of talk about our just kind of, what we were going through at that time. But yeah, I feel like the detours do help you if you're able to look back at them and not cringe and not just look away or hide them under a rug, it can help you make yourself a better human going forward, which I feel like I've been working really hard to do. Being a lot, just like kinder to myself, but then just like kinder to other people. Like we're all going through it,
Yeah. Yeah. That kind of empathy can't really be learned. It's like in you. You just have to just let it out and get your ego out of the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
My ego was crazy. Like move that out of there. I don't enjoy talking to other people who are highly egotistical. Right. That's terrible. I don't want to be that. I never want somebody to walk away from a conversation like, oh gosh, she's full of herself. Because it's not who I am. I, again, naturally curious about other people. And I feel like through that period of time where I was just like terrible, I wasn't caring about other people. I was like, don't you care about me? I couldn't wait to talk about myself. I couldn't wait to tell you about my next travel and adventure and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like.
Could you see it in your work?
I'm sure. You know how we talked about just putting people on a beautiful mountainside and just making it amazing? I wanted the accolades.
Yeah, it was shallow.
It was shallow. It wasn't, that's fun for 5 minutes, where you're like, okay, cool, I'm so great. And it's not really like how I want to create art. It didn't feel good. It didn't feel anything other than getting a great picture that people were like, wow, if you're doing it for the likes, you're doing it for the wrong reason.
Yeah, that's it. So at this point, do you feel more steady now, or do you just feel like more aware?
Probably both, honestly. I feel a lot more steady in that I just feel like I know who I am as a photographer. I don't look at a lot of other photographers' work. And I feel like that's when I know that I'm really secure and feeling good about my own work. Like I'm not trying to be somebody else or beat somebody else's work or be better than somebody else. Like I'm truly creating for the people that want to work with me, and I'm creating for myself. And, those feel really good. I feel like that feels, when I'm stopping looking at other people's work and doing that comparison game,
that's hard.
And I think that's when you can just rest and be like, I'm doing okay. I don't feel like I'm doing that comparison. Like that comparison is a thief of joy kind of moment is a real thing. Like truly. I
try so hard to not do that. And it is just easier said than done.
True.
Right? Like I'm pretty confident in what I do. I love what I do. But it's like, man, sometimes something will come up and I'm like, God, I wish I made that, or why didn't I have that idea? Or like, God, what I'm making isn't that good.
Okay, well, I do that with painting sometimes. Like, I feel like my photography, I'm not doing that as much. With painting, that might be a hold because it's newer. So I feel like I'm still trying to figure out who I am as a
Still trying to get your footing. Still trying to figure out what your voice is.
Yeah. Yes, I'm creating for myself, which feels good. But then there will be other painters that will put something out. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And instead, though, of like going and copying that work, I feel like I use that more to like, how can I create something that feels that great for myself, instead of just like, oh, well, what colors were they using or what's their subject matter? I don't take that and just run with the idea that I think is great, where I feel like when I was a young photographer, I would see somebody else's work and then try to replicate that.
Right. Well, I mean, I feel like that's probably how you start to figure out what you like, what you don't like. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
I was like, there's more to this sentence, but I don't think there is.
It's that. You got the sentiment correct.
So at this point in your career, at this point in your life, has your ambition changed? I don't think I said that right. Has your, goals or maybe definition of success changed?
Yeah, I feel, yes, it has. I'm not sure how to articulate that perfectly, but I feel like when I really just want to have fun and enjoy what I'm doing.
I fucking love that.
I really do. I mean, monetarily, sure, great. That would be, but that feels more secondary. I want to have a good, where I get to wake up and do the things that I love to do. And it was funny, the other day, I woke up and again, this is my slower season. I'm not photographing weddings as much. I still have shoots, but they're not as like intense as they are in like the spring, summer, and fall. And I woke up and I had a slow breakfast and I went upstairs to my painting studio and I got to paint a couple pictures. And I'm like, oh, that's right. I was going to run to the pottery studio and finish up these pieces. And I ran there and I did that. And I have friends that were at the pottery studio. We were all laughing. And then I picked up my son from school and then I went home and I like made dinner. And as I was like making dinner, just like reflective of my day, I was like, this is exactly the life that I wanted. And that feels like success to me. It wasn't how much money did I make today, how much, accolades I got in any sort of thing. It was just, I got to wake up and create a bunch of stuff that I thought was really cool and really fun. And, my year shifts around a lot. So it's not always going to feel that, blissed out, but it felt great. Like that's the success is I'm doing the things that I've wanted to do. And even in the height of my busyness, like I'm taking pictures, I'm photographing, I'm editing, like all these are things that I love to do so much. That's success to me.
So I just hit my 40s, a year and some change ago. For me, I've been really in my own head about mortality and the fragility of life. As you age, do you have to wrestle with that kind of shit too?
Yeah. A lot more than yes, especially the last few years. I feel like we're in that like sandwich generation, like we're raising a child. He's younger. He's like going to be 12 next week. And then I have parents that are in their 70s. And I feel like that, watching parents age, watching my son get older, I'm in a season where I am not, I'm 46. I'm 46. And I'm like, I've been doing photography for 20 years. I love it. Like I've had to the nose to the grindstone. But then as I'm looking up, I'm like, wait, how much longer do people want me to photograph their weddings? Like how much longer am I personally going to be relevant for the couples that I'm working? Like, am I, there is a relevancy thing that I personally am worried about. And I feel like I don't need to force that too much. I feel like the people who want to work with me and see my work, I think that connection is still there. But the timing, like what in 10 years ago just feels like it was a blink.
Yeah.
And then so in 10 more years that I'm in my 50s and that feels wild to me. Like what? I feel like we all have like an internal age. Like, do you know your internal age?
What is it? Just like how old I
do you feel? Like until you like look in the mirror or you actually like think about your age. How old are you?
I would say like mid to late 20s.
Yeah, I'm 28, like always. Like I just feel like that's just like I haven't really like in my head. I'm just like, I'm like a young professional. I'm a young artist. Like I'm not. I was when I started, and now when I'm photographing my couples, I'm like, oh, we're peers. And then their parents are like, oh, I graduated in the 90s. I was like, cool.
Like, oh,
same
fuck.
Girl, same, and I that blows my mind. Yeah. So I mean, that has come up a lot. Like, I feel like the aging, I don't feel any different than I did in my 20s, like physically.
I feel way different.
Well, okay, I do a little bit. I feel like I don't feel different when I wake up out of bed, but I'm just like, wait, like all the things that used to be really easy, like, I've always been able to think, up until like recently, I could just eat whatever I wanted and not really have repercussions. Yeah. And now I'm like, okay, yep, you do need to go to the gym. And, so that has shifted and changed a little bit. But yeah, it definitely, like, I wonder where I'm going to be in 10 years and how I'm going to be perceived in the art world in 10 years, But then I see a lot of badass women and men, like, out creating, and they're, like, amazing, and they're owning their age. And, I feel like as I'm Gen X. I'm, like, right in that, like, almost a millennial, but really, in that little weird micro generation. And I look at a lot of other Gen X people aging that are older than me, and I'm like, they're just owning it, and they're cool. And I don't, and so, yes, definitely thinking about aging and what that looks like and my own mortality and all of these different things. But I'm also like, I don't know, like, there's a lot more permission, there's more permission, I feel like, these days to just be who you are and not worry about all the rest.
I love that. And I feel like we're very lucky in that sense, because that was not the case forever.
And I feel like I'm cooler now than I was in my 20s. So why are we like prioritizing youth is like, why are we looking at 20-year-olds as like, this is who we want to be and who we want to look like? when we're so much cooler as we age. Like, I don't get it. I mean, I understand because we're like a very, as a society, we like aesthetics, we like all the things. But also, why are we not saying like the people who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, you're finding more of a sense of yourself. And I just feel like I'd much rather have a conversation with somebody who knows who they are than somebody who like thinks they know who they are and think they have all the answers. And they don't. I didn't at my 20s. I thought I did.
Dude, I look back at myself in my 20s and I kind of fucking hate that guy.
Oh my gosh. I'm with you.
Like, what a piece of shit. Honestly, what a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm. I thought I knew everything. I really did.
I did too. Like, I remember this one time, and for a long time I would tell this story as like a look how cool I am kind of a thing. But now I think about it, I'm like, no, you're just a dick.
Yep.
And I was at an agency, and one of the account people, like, I mean, granted, she crossed a boundary as well, because she was like, here's what the design should look like, and she drew it up for me. And without even like looking at it, I just like crumble it up and then threw it away. And I'm like,
of her?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
It's a good move.
And well, I felt cool, but now I'm also like, that might've been a good idea. Yeah. You don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's what we do with that after. You didn't continue to be that guy. So I mean,
for a little bit.
Okay.
For a little bit, but I'm okay now. I'm okay now.
I feel like we all go through our bad years.
Yeah. Is there anything else we should talk about before we go topic hopping?
I don't think so. I feel like we've covered a lot.
All right. I think so too.
Okay.
All right. When you're gone, what do you hope people say about you?
Oh, I hope people that when they're around me, they feel like they're heard. I want people to remember me as being just kind and real and a good human to be around. As an artist, I mean, I would love to have people be like, oh yeah, Amy Carroll photographed my wedding or my family, or I have one of her art pieces on the wall and it brings me joy. I think, don't we all kind of want that?
Yeah, we do. Finish the thought. Creativity requires
letting go.
Go on.
I think we hold things really tight. Like, I know that when I've tried, like recently, I had a full idea in my head of what I wanted to paint. And I started the painting and it wasn't going how I wanted to. And I just ended up moving my paintbrush in a whole different way. And just, it came out as this really beautiful, amazing piece because I just let go. I didn't hold on to this concept of what I was trying to do. I feel the same way in my photography. Let go. Like, when you're trying so hard to harness something, you get really frustrated because things inevitably are not going to go how, I've had it at weddings where I have this complete thought. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going to go over here. This is going to be amazing. I want you to just, look into each other's eyes or whatever that might be, or just really, we're going to go over here. And whatever ends up happening is actually more interesting usually than what I had conceptually in my head. I just feel like creativity requires a lot of letting go.
And just kind of like getting out of your own way.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yes.
Just letting it flow.
Yep.
I feel like the process of making is not the time to be precious.
That's the quote right there.
Yeah. What would your last meal be?
Well, Thai food is always my go-to comfort food. I love Thai food.
All right, let's talk spice level.
Yep. So it's more than West Michigan spice.
Okay.
but less than, maybe like a notch up from West Michigan spice.
Okay.
So, I like it a little spicy, but I need to taste the food.
Yeah.
I can't be sweating the whole time. Then I'm just worried about sweating the whole time.
I've got a buddy who we went out for, I think it was Thai food. And he went way too hot. And there was a point in the meal where he's just like, I can't hear you.
Yeah, it's just uncomfortable. I know. The blood starts right. Yeah, all of it. I've been there before. Yeah. I had a really beautiful meal in Chinatown once in New York. And I literally was having the best time until I wasn't. And it was just like sweat, just so much sweat. Yeah. And I also because it's fresh in my mind that I may change it from Thai food. I was out with a bunch of girlfriends in Detroit this past weekend, and we had this really beautiful dinner, and they brought out a sweet potato. We ordered the sweet potato on the menu, And it was like life-changing. It truly was.
Yeah?
So it's either Thai food or this sweet potato. It was like one of the best bites I've ever had.
Talk to me about that sweet potato.
Yeah, it was incredible. I wish I could replicate it. It was kind of like charred, and you know how like it, you know, all those like sugars caramelized and like crunchy quinoa that was like charred on top of it. And then this just really beautiful nuanced sauce. It was like a little spicy, a little sweet, and you just bit it. And I was like, what? It was the first bite of our meal. And we all just kind of like looked at each other. It was like a moment, you know, I feel like
Everyone's
you rarely have that.
We're all experiencing this, right?
Yeah, it was incredible. So I feel like that sweet potato might actually
That's
be
awesome.
my last meal.
What's the worst or the best advice you've ever received?
I don't know if this would be considered advice. It's more of a quote, but it was given by my dad, like when I was young. And I remember hearing it and I was like, huh. And it's just always, and it's not, this is a known quote. It might be a cliche quote, to be honest, but it was, and it, you know, it's the, like, ships are safest in the harbor kind of thing, but that's not what ships were made for. And, you know, it's really easy to get comfortable, and you can stay nice and happy and comfortable in your own harbor. And, you know, you probably won't experience a lot of, you know, hard things because you're safe, but that's not what we're made for. So I'd much rather get out there and risk getting hurt, risk getting trodden down, or, you know, fail. But that's what we're made for. And, you know, to come back, that's what I'm here for. I don't want to stay safe in a harbor. I'm going to try a bunch of stuff. I'm going to enjoy that. I might risk all of it, but it's worth it to me.
Yeah. What's your walk-up song?
Music fluctuates pretty fast for me. So what would my walk-up song be? I've been listening to a lot of Glass Animals and Polo and Pan lately, and they're more vibe than they are a walk-up song.
Okay.
Gosh, what would my walk-up song be? I feel like it would be vibes more. So there is a song, but I can't remember the artist. Can I get back to you on this? Can we pause this right here? Let me think. Can I look up a song really quick?
Take a minute, yeah.
I feel like, what is the name of the... I got to find the... Yeah, so my walk-up song is... I forgot it again. I forget that. I literally was playing around on Spotify, and this came up because I was kind of looking for just like good painting vibe songs. And La Route by Junior?
Oh, sure.
I don't know. I think it might be a French band. Or a singer. But the vibes are just like everything that I've been incorporating into my like artwork lately. And I feel like I've just been like, you know how like Spotify will just kind of like create a playlist based on one vibe. So then this song came up and I was like, wait, what is that? And so I've been like kind of playing it on repeat a lot, but it's just obscure.
Vibe.
Yeah, this vibe right here, but unfamiliar with the band, unfamiliar with the artist, but that song has just kind of been
That's awesome.
on repeat. Yeah.
That's awesome. What makes you feel most like yourself?
My friends. They're the equalizer. Yeah. I mean, I think being around the people that know me the most, because I can tend to I'm an extrovert, but I have found, especially like in the last several years, I like a lot more time by myself. And then you start to forget a little bit. Like if I spend too much time with myself, and I can, like I am happy to be up painting all day and doing pottery and having that be a completely solo activity. And then when I'm around the people, like my husband, my son, my friends, like it kind of brings me back to who I really am and why I'm doing anything that I'm doing. So, especially like I have a almost 12-year-old son, and he's witty and he cuts right to the bone, not to be mean, but he definitely brings me right back to how he knows me. And I feel like, yeah, I really think it's the people that I love the most that really make me feel like myself. Doing all the creative and the fun endeavors that I do, I love that. That's for me. But I think when I'm thinking on the bigger scope of it, it's the people that I spend the time with.
Yeah. You have any regrets?
So many. We don't have time for that. If we do a regret podcast episode,
we're going to do a whole episode.
I have a lot. I have many. And it usually involves me just being a selfish human. And, we touched on that a little bit, but I think anytime I feel the yuckiest about myself, it's generally because of an expectation that I had for somebody else. I just don't want to be a garbage human.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a lot of those same, when you look back and you're like, I was not good. No.
Yeah. Those are my biggest regrets are just the, things that I've done. I've certainly had where I could have taken an opportunity that I said no to, but there's probably a reason for that.
Yeah.
But I really think the biggest regrets are just I was standing in my way for them.
Yeah. All right. Last question I have for you. Are you okay?
I'm good. I feel better. I feel better in 2026 than I did at the beginning of this decade. And I feel like it just keeps getting better.
That's amazing. Before we wrap this up, where can people find you?
I have so many spots.
Lay them out.
Instagram is always where I tend to spend the most times on a social platform. So Amy Carroll Photography. I also have Amy Carroll Print Shop, another Instagram. That's kind of where I share more of my artwork. And then physically, I now have a little art space up in Rockford with Maison Blanc. I'm not there all the time, although I do go from time to time. But you can see some of my artwork and pottery there if you find yourself in Rockford.
So dope. All right. You want to get out of here?
Yeah.
All right.
Getting tired of hearing all these noises in my head. I can't seem to make them go away.
Bad Idea Social Club is an independent podcast made possible by merch sales, reviews, and listener support, and is created and hosted by me, graphic designer Aaron McCall, and co-hosted by photographer Joe Matteson. Music is Noises by Mike Mades in the Branches. Get Bad Idea Social Club wherever you get your podcasts.